So welcome. This is Debbie Lacken from Kids Around Dogs, and we have the lovely Mary Farrelly today to talk about your book, Mary.
Yay!
The Dog Knows, Do You? This was meant to be a live on Facebook, didn't quite pan out. So we are recording it now and share it so we can have a lovely chat with you, Mary. And I'm really sorry about the live not kind of working. So Mary, before we dive into your book, obviously I know you are a dog trainer and you are a dog KAD Approved Professional in Ireland. What else can you tell us about you?
Oh, that's a big question, isn't it? I'm very old, so I could probably tell you loads of things, but you don't want to hear all of those.
There are some things that, you know, we better not. We better keep
yeah, some things are better not said out loud, right? Yeah, so I suppose I have worked in training humans for many, many years, over 30 years experience at this stage. And I still dabble in that. I still work in community education. But what's been really interesting is over here we have a great community program for people who are actually maybe not in employment or don't have the finances for education. But what I've done is communicated with those organizations, and we deliver a dog-friendly program. Actually, it's called the Puppy Love program. It's only recent. It's only happened this year. But it's a little bit of a venture. But for me, it was how can we get more information to people who maybe genuinely cannot afford to pay for one-to-one training themselves. So I thought this was a great opportunity to get in front of people before they ever even consider getting a dog. A little bit like the book for children. It's always the same message, Debbie, isn't it? Maybe just delivered in a different vocabulary.
Yeah, but it's lovely that you do this because, well, I think the whole world is a bit struggling at the moment. We all see this, we all feel it, and but we shouldn't kind of deprive ourselves of the love of dogs. So if there are things like the one that you're doing, helping out someone who would like to get a dog but not really sure what to do and cannot afford to really look into that before also then affording the cost of a dog and all the consequences of it, such a brilliant thing to do. So fantastic, really lovely. And then you wrote a book. What made you want to? This is not just a book as well. There are informations about dog, but there are activities for kids, and I love that. So what made you want to write this journal?
Yeah, I think it came from working with children in dog training classes specifically for children. I realized the potential, and we all know we want to make the world a better place for animals and dogs, dogs too. We're all dog lovers, I suppose. And I was like, how can we get this message across to children? How can we start imparting knowledge without it being lecturing or teaching or whatever? So that was really kind of the thought process behind the book, was how can it be fun? We all learn best when it's fun, right? When there's no pressure, when we're engaging because we choose to engage. So it's really about empowering the child to have a voice and to make choices in this process. But it also works really well for the family as well, for bringing up those conversations. And sometimes I find when I do family consultations, the challenges for the parents maybe, to say no or to say not yet and try to explain why. And it can become a little bit of a point of conflict, whereas the book neutralizes that somewhat. In fact, leads to really nice family conversations.
It really does. And there are plenty of activities for kids to do. I'm just going to show a few pages so you can see what it looks like. There are some lovely activities that older kids, if you like, kids are able to read and write, can do independently, whilst if they are younger ones or with some difficulties, then parents can get involved. Obviously, we always suggest to parents to have a little look before so that they can educate themselves. But make no mistake, the kids will educate you anytime they can.
For sure.
So there are plenty of activities for kids to do independently where they learn and get to have some fun. And there are obviously things, again, that they can share with their siblings or their friends. But it's really like loads and loads of stuff where the kids can learn about dogs, learn what to do around dogs, There are some training things along with understanding who dogs are and their nose and everything else. Might be a bit of a trick question, but as obviously you are a dog lover, as you said, and you work with dogs, what do you think is the thing that fascinates you the most about dogs?
I just think the uniqueness, like no two dogs are the same as people, and you never quite know what you're going to get. And I love that. It's like, it's not a boring place, the world of the dog, is it? So I just think it's that, their uniqueness, but what they bring to us as well. And that's something that's important to get that message out as well, isn't it? I've done a couple of surveys asking people, you know, what is it about your dog? You know, what is it? And it's just so beautiful to hear their replies or to read their replies. And we know what they are, but to see them written down on the paper actually makes me quite emotional and you know, almost a little bit tearful sometimes, because for some people, the dog is their lifeline. We know that, you know, the dog is their lifeline, their companion, their, you know, their best friend, the person that they can speak to. And again, that really comes down to children for me. And the book also came as part of having worked with children, especially. I know we've spoken before, Debbie, but for me, it's the shy, quiet child who struggles, that maybe doesn't fit in or feels that they don't fit in. And, you know, their dog is their friend or their trustworthy companion that they confide in and they talk to. So all of those things are important. But I just think the dog, it's a little miracle really wrapped up in a bit of fur. It really is.
You know, I think you know this as well, that growing up, I was desperate for a dog, and my parents weren't, or my brother was not interested. But I think, although I wasn't, you know, wasn't a shy kid myself, I just, I don't know why, I just couldn't make friends, like real friends, you know. I could make acquaintance, and sure enough, I knew every kid in my class, you know, that kind of thing. But I just didn't have that friend. And I think in my head as a kid, I always imagined, you know, that the dog would have been my friend. And I had to wait a long time for that to be true. I knew it. I knew I was right. Because even now I have friends, and I'm so blessed with, you know, with a lovely family and everything. But my best friends are still the dogs, and sometimes the cat. It doesn't always want to.
Depends what mood the cat's in.
Yeah, the cat has plenty of choice. Do you know what I mean? But definitely, yes, you're so right. And the fact as well in mentioning that not every dog is the same. And I think the exercises, the little games in the book kind of really show that as well to our, you know, younger audience. But again, this is, I'm sure you aimed it for children, but really it's quite enjoyable for older children.
Yeah, I have a lovely story, Debbie. I was sent a photo of a friend of mine ordered 3 books for her nieces and nephews.
Lovely.
And she says one of them's a little bit older. So the book's kind of aimed at sort of 7 to 12, that kind of age. Yeah. Either side, depending on level of maturity and all of those things. But the eldest boy actually recorded a video. It was very funny. I must share it with you sometime. But it was a video of him standing in the field. I live in the countryside, and this little boy did the same. But he's reading the book, literally holding the book up to a cow in the field. So all you can see is the back of him. And the cow is looking at him like this, listening intently, thinking, you know, what is this crazy human? And he's just literally reading the book and asking the cow questions on it. It was just the funniest, sweetest little moment, you know? But I think also what's important for me is that I would have grown up in a time where dogs were not seen in the way that they're seen now, and they were readily used and abused. And I know that still happens now, but there's a lot more kindness than there maybe was back many years ago. And even in my own home, I would have seen that as a child with my father and our little Jack Russell. That little dog did not live the most loved life with my father. But I can acutely remember, painfully so, being aware, even as a young child, that, you know, this can't be right. This, you know, just does not seem right to, you know, treat a dog in this way. And kind of the way it was back then in that case, and probably in my father's own eyes, was that, you know, kind of treat them mean and keep them keen, that kind of attitude. And again, as a child, you know, children aren't silly, are they? They're not stupid. They see things and they feel and they understand things. But even back then, I always felt it was important, you know, that there was something that needed to be done about that. So the idea of the book was to take a family through the early stages of even before getting a dog, to consider it, to have conversations, and it hopefully evokes those conversations. Is the time right? What would happen when we're all at work or school and the dog is left alone? Just to get those thoughts to be created a little bit, not to put guilt or anything on anybody,
No. Yeah,
but to raise awareness. And, you know, we do have a responsibility to teach responsibility to our children. So, you know, the book can kind of lead them so far, and then it just leaves a space where maybe they decide the time is not right, but they can still continue to, you know, fill in the book for when the time is right. And, you know, it allows that little bit of breathing space, and hopefully for the parents, it allows an opportunity to maybe just pause until the child is a little bit more mature or the circumstances are better.
Yeah, and you know, it's really important because we not only this is our job, but also we have been through it. You know, we have dogs, we know what it's like, we know what to expect, and even when you know what you expect, something can still happen, and you go, oh gosh. And when there are kids in the family, that those unpredictability and on other factors kind of multiply and make life even more challenging sometimes. So I think is a great and kind of caring way of you to go, you know what, I know these things, this is what I do, this is my life, and I can help you maybe preventing a mistake, if you like, or preventing you know, adopting a life, because dogs are for life. You know, it's not a pair of shoes and you go, I'll change it. They have ideas, they have opinion, they are sentient being, and so when adopting a dog, we need to take full responsibility for this life. So it's great the fact that you can get out there and go, you know what, I'm not being the boss of you and anything, but these can help you. My knowledge, my experience, my everything can help you to see what it's like, to have a little think about things that maybe you have not thought about before. And you got them right, and you can get the kids as well to think about it. Sometimes is that I really want a furry ball. So this dog can make them open their eyes a bit more and their mind too.
Yeah, and children are fascinating, aren't they? I was asked to do a consultation with a lady recently and her children. Now, only one of the children was there at the time. He was a little boy and he was 11. And what had happened was the lovely neighbours down the road's dog had puppies, and they offered one of the puppies to the kids without any consultation with the parent. So you can imagine the emotional blackmail.
Yeah.
But this is the way people are, aren't they? And like, people don't think, they were giving, you know, from their perspective, it was meant in a loving way. But it really
nice thing. There you go. Have a puppy.
Yeah, exactly. It just hadn't been given any thought. And the mum, who happens to be a single mum, was like, I cannot deal with something else. Like, she was being very practical.
Yeah.
But she just said, would you come in with us and have the conversation? Now, it was done online, and it's such a beautiful conversation. But now she was pretty to the point with the child. You know, she was like, well, are you going to do this? And so it was true, it was real, but I was trying to soften it in the way to help the child, because when we preach at our children, they won't understand. They shut off, you know, the same as we do. If someone is lecturing us, I don't like to be lectured.
I'm not listening anymore. Stop
We're
nagging.
no different. We're just like, don't tell me that. I do the opposite.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah. But when we allowed him to come to the conclusions himself, and, you know, he started making statements like, well, can we still go on holiday 3 times a year? Can I still do football and this and this? And, you know, then the reality was, he was mature enough, you know, at 11 to start to understand that.
Yeah.
So he decided that actually he didn't really want a dog in the house yet at this stage. But he did finish in saying, but I'm not sure you'll convince my sisters.
Session number 2.
But again, you know, this is kind of the way sometimes people just don't stop to think about the long-term effect, you know. So what we did kind of put a plan in place for with this little boy was they're very close to these neighbours. They're obviously very close, so I hand them over a puppy.
Give them a puppy, yeah.
But we said, imagine, you know, if they keep this puppy that they're talking about keeping a puppy themselves, so maybe you could take a responsibility in their dog, and maybe you could be the chief trainer. And I offered to send him over some little training sheets or whatever. You know, you can do all the nice things with the puppy, and he quite liked that idea. And I thought that was a good compromise for both. Because, you know, they've probably got a junior, you know, dog walker or garden player or something down the road. So yeah, it's to find what works best for that family at that time, and the dog, especially the dog.
But is it exactly, because at the end of the day, the dog is the one who's got no choice at all, you know, it's just gonna be sent from one place to the next kind of thing. But yeah, if you are that kind of neighbor, I don't know, get them a book, get them this book.
What a great idea.
Not a puppy, maybe the puppy later, but get them this book. Mary, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you one last question. What is a book that maybe has influenced your life in a particular way that you really, really like? And it doesn't have to be dog related.
Oh, a book that's, I'm actually going to go back to childhood myself. So there's been loads, because I've always been a reader anyway. But one that's jumping out to when you ask that question straight away from a childhood perspective was The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because for a child, I think that sparked my imagination, and I still have maybe a very immature imagination, because, you know, sometimes people are like, really, Mary? And I'm like, well, it sounds like a great idea to me. But it was about freedom, wasn't it? And about, it didn't matter who you were, you know, you had a place in this world, and, you know, all of those things, which is very much a kind of around my ethos with our animals as well, you know, that everyone and everything should be valued, and sentience is important in whatever shape or form it takes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
So you, Well, I'm all over social media as well. Not as active as I should be, or as good as some people are at it, but I am there, and I can be found at The Dog Knows Why, on Instagram and Facebook, or mary@thedogknows.ie is my email address. And I'm always happy to have a chat or encourage, or if anyone wants to ask about writing a doggy book, I'd be more than happy to help. But what I say is just go for it. You know, if you have something to share with the world, trust and believe in yourself, and just put it out there, because what have we got to lose?
Absolutely. And again, this book is by Mary, is called The Dog Knows Do You. You can find it on Amazon quite easily. Just type in Mary's name, Mary Farrelly, or the title of both. If you forget and you go, what was it? You can go on our website, kidsarounddogs.co.uk, and in the book session we list the books that we really, really love. And obviously this one is there, so you can click on it and it takes you directly to Amazon, where you can purchase the book. Mary, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for bringing this lovely journal kind of workbook out there for all kids and families and older children as well. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you for being such a great KAD Approved Professional.
And it's an honor, and it's an absolute honor to have my little book listed with you. That means a lot as well. And I am a proud KAD professional, for sure.
Yay. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.